Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Steamboat Bill Jr. from 1928. Yes, directed by Charles Reisner and of course Buster Keaton. So yes, back again here to review another Buster Keaton, and here it is once again, this free film, Master of Cinema set, and yes, had a great time with this. As I've said before, I got this for kind of as one of my Christmas presents. Was really looking forward to all of these films, especially the General. And I think I've reviewed, of course, yeah, Sherlock Junior and the General. This film, of course, I watched in the middle of them films. Just didn't get around to reviewing it. I had more of a kind of more of my thoughts, definite thoughts maybe on the General, so I thought I'd review that first, but this one, is more of, is it this, is it that, it's a bit, yeah, and it was maybe harder to talk about, but here we are, and I must say I'm a bit unwell, have been for the last few days now, but I thought, yeah, I'd do this review, probably won't be too long, this review, but and no spoilers. That's the thing as well. No spoilers for this review. So if you haven't seen the film, don't worry. I won't be going into or at least the plot details that will kind of maybe ruin the experience. But yes, this is of course basically the second to last Buster Keaton film where he actually had some sort of creative control. Really, of course, the cameraman is really considered, obviously debated by many, but considered primarily as the last, the final feature film that Buster Keaton actually had creative control over, and of course he did fizzle out, unfortunately, around after that time. But yes, I really look forward to the cameraman as well. But this one was the last one to be released under United Artists, of course. So yeah, very interesting film. And yes, this is a film that very famous. Maybe within this film, the kind of the set piece, especially particularly the stunt, the moment, of course, with the house. We all know it really. The house falls just around Buster Keaton. Very nearly killing him, of course, potentially. This is insane. The stunt in this, it's absolutely wow, this is something else. But yes, of course, that kind of image there is very famous. One of the most famous pieces, really, in cinema. And of course, it's in this film. So you could say this, if people haven't seen Buster Keaton films, this is one that where that imagery kind of comes to mind, and that's maybe the most famous because of that. But yes, it's at the same time not considered his best film. Maybe the General or Sherlock Junior usually are the ones that are considered for his absolute best work. But this one, I was really looking forward to, and yes, kind of a very short film again, around 70 minutes really, and yes, basically concerning this this kind of captain and owner of this steamer, of course. Basically, yes, he's nicknamed Steamboat Bill. William Canfield is his actual name, and of course his son is also named, the Steamboat Bill Jr. Of course, very obvious. And yes, basically he's coming back from college and to see his father, of course, who he's not seen since he was basically a kid. And yes, basically you see these bits of the initial kind of talks, of course, and the preparation, of course, for Buster Keaton's character to return to his father and, of course, to help him out and stuff. And the father is, expecting, this kind of strong, maybe, physically able, guy, of course, to maybe help him out. And of course, he's very, surprised when, of course, it reveals that, Buster Keaton, his character is very maybe not kind of what his father expected, but yes, basically it unfolds from there. You've got this kind of rival, if you will, James King of this. Yeah, it's basically a competition for this. Steamboat Bill, of course, and yeah, it all unfolds from there. You've got this kind of romance with the daughter of James King. Basically Kitty, I think her name was, yes, and yeah, Kitty basically she falls in love with Buster Keaton, and basically this romance kind of unfolds, while also, of course, the drama side of things, the two rivaling kind of competitors here. And yes, basically a very interesting film here. You have this these dynamics, of course, that's set up, and of course you've got this kind of I think really meaningful relationship with the father-son kind of relationship, and Buster Keaton once again, just brilliant in this film. I think, especially the physical side of things here. This is wow. It's kind of just as well, maybe not quite as much, but it's kind of comparable to the general in just the kind of the feet, especially I think the danger levels to this. This is wow. A couple of inches maybe or so. A different kind of in a different spot. And Buster Keaton. The house could this 2 ton, I believe it was. This is part of the house would have potentially crushed him. So that is something else. Really, really dangerous stuff here. Really dangerous filmmaking. And it adds, of course, to this intensity once again. There's something so raw about these Buster Keaton films. But again, very dreamlike. I love silent cinema. This one, of course, once again, just this kind of dreamlike quality, and this is a really wonderful feeling. That I got from this one. It's not. Of the three, I probably consider this my least favourite, but it is a great film, in my opinion. It's certainly, kind of got its, I think, flat moments here and there, maybe in the middle of the film, but the final act, wow, the final act is just stunning, of course. You've got this cyclone, of course, that comes into this area, and these massive wind machines, obviously, being used for this kind of set piece, and I believe it's $25,000 that Buster Keaton actually invested, of his own money into this, into these, this kind of whole sequence alone, and it's just really is stunning, and it's so layered and so kind of wow, constantly thrilling. It's just it's funny, of course, but it's just so action-packed, this film. In these sequences, of course, this is the thing about Buster Keaton. It's the stunts, it's the the thrill of it, and also the comedy, but at the same time, kind of thing, you've got the kind of the nervous laughing, perhaps, at the actual danger of this, and the whole kind of visceral feeling, very, very many close calls, sometimes, actually happening, injuries, of course, to Buster Keaton, it's really, really shocking stuff, but then, of course, you have actually got the comedy of the slapstick, which is often just hilarious with Buster Keaton. In this set piece, certainly the same, and just no surprise here. This is just the way it's been put together, the editing and stuff, absolutely stunning. This is it's a real drama. More maybe than the other films. The other two films in this set. I'd say this is probably the one that maybe explores, a relationship in this way more than the other two. Perhaps they're more kind of adventure films. Sherlock Jr. is very, very different. Of course, it's kind of fantasy. It's a dream film as well. It's kind of thriller, of course, comedy, action. The general, once again, very, very different, but more again, action, adventure, and comedy, of course. But this one really is very it's very focused, I think, on the drama before many things escalate. It's very it's got this kind of very human drama going on here at the centre of the film, and of course later on in the film, this kind of this thing that happens, of course, and Buster Keaton, he's kind of trying to do certain things, and it's just so involving. I really cared about the father in this film, and of course the dynamics, of course, between Buster Keaton's character, Steamboat Bill Jr., and of course Steamboat Bill, this kind of father-son relationship. I really loved. I think there's a couple of moments in this film, where it really was quite moving, actually, and it's nothing. I don't think this film is a masterpiece. Just my personal opinion. It's not. It's not as good for me as the general. Or yes. Sherlock Jr., but it doesn't really matter. It is another great film. The physicality of this, the cinematography overall, really stunning. Like all these Buster Keaton films, the acting, once again, just brilliant. Especially, of course, Buster Keaton, but Ernest, Torrence, who plays the father, of course, William, Steamboat Bill. He is really, really good in this film, and of course Marion, Byron, she is also very, very good as Kitty, of course. This romance in itself, really, really compelling for me, and just, not one of the best romances or anything, but it is really, really involving, and just a very, very charming film. Once again, this is very. I think The General is more of a serious film in many regards. And that's more. It's kind of, there's something about that film. Maybe this is more charming, than that film in some regards. I would also say, Sherlock Junior is more charming than The General. There is, of course, comparisons. It's very, very interesting. And The General is a very, very different film. Within Buster Keaton's filmography, really. But I love The General, and I love this film. And of course, yes, I do. I personally prefer The General. But this film, has some things maybe that I would that I maybe slightly lean towards a bit more. A few things here and there. Maybe the overall feeling of this, kind of father-son relationship as well. Very, very something I connect to very much in this film. And yeah, it's very, very interesting to see the kind of different films that Buster Keaton made. So great. All these films. These 3 films here. On this Blu-ray here. Absolutely so impressive. And yes, this is maybe my least favorite of the 3. Yes, but that doesn't really matter because once again, thoroughly compelling. It has some moments here and there that maybe a bit flat. Could have been a bit more investing, a bit more kind of going on with the comedy, perhaps. I think a couple of gags, go a bit too far. With maybe the hat, for example, early on the hat scene. He's trying on the different hats, of course, in the shop. It's really, really funny at first. It does. Maybe it goes on a bit too long there, slight tweaking there, just in my opinion, for my liking. And yes, a couple of other moments, mainly in the first half, just not quite, perfected, and it doesn't quite elevate to this, kind of masterpiece status. It doesn't quite, do enough in maybe the drama side of things, or just my investment, my enjoyment of the film isn't quite, say, masterpiece level, like for example Sherlock Junior is for me personally. But yes, I do think it's a great film. I think most of this film, there's always something going on. The way that this is framed, in the editing, once again stunning. And yes, Buster Keaton once again, just so good. His kind of physicality of this one film once again. Of course, the way he reacts, of course, to this. The weather, of course, this kind of cyclone, of course, later on in the film, and just the surroundings, it's genius. It really is. That is genius. In this film, the way he is just so, he has perfected this kind of style, and the way he is doing these stunts. Of course, this is a real performance. This, and I loved the kind of final act so much. It's really unbelievable stuff. So thrilling. Most of this film is in the one location, really, around this kind of area, and I love how it kind of escalates and it uses all this, to kind of, in the end, the destruction of it, just so good and authentic. All of this, is so, so much dedication to this, and just. The practicality of this film, unbelievable, really is. So overall, of course, I love this film. Great film once again. Buster Keaton, just a great individual. He was, and just another film here, that I found, truly, breathtaking. In its stunts, of course. Just the performance of Buster Keaton is a performance. Yet again, this is. Despite saying that, it is also very, very subtle, once again, in the acting from Buster Keaton, in the drama scenes, perhaps, and, it's kind of this combination, of course, he never goes too far, but also kind of, it's just such a well-rounded, kind of performance here, really something else, and it's just so, very likeable once again in this film. This is a very charming experience, maybe, as I say, a bit flat at times, here and there, and just in the middle of the film mainly, and some of the gags, aren't quite perfected in my opinion. Maybe to go a bit too long, just in terms of what they're doing, and it just doesn't quite, kind of maybe reach that kind of, masterpiece level, just in my opinion. But it is a great film, and I have to give it a 90%. So yes, of course, less than The General and Sherlock Junior, but having said that, it's not, certainly not a lesser film. This is a great film in my opinion. So all these, 3 films here, on this set, certainly recommend it. I think, to see on Blu-ray as well, just stunning quality here. And this film, it's just, has its special moments. Truly, not, kind of a masterpiece overall, but I think, the action, the set pieces towards the end of the film, really are, and I think once again, just the dedication here, the risk in this film is unbelievable. As I say, very very close, to potentially, being, seriously injured, at least, and possibly worse. I think there was a nail. That's all it was, to kind of indicate, where he was meant to stand. How insane is that? This is very very risky filmmaking. It really is. But it's a great film, and I really found it very compelling. Mostly, I was always kind of invested in this film, and there's a couple of flaws and stuff, but it doesn't quite blow me away to the point where it maybe a masterpiece, but it is a very very impressive film. Great film for me. I love it. Overall, maybe you don't love every single minute of the film, but that's just mainly the middle of it, and stuff. I didn't, I found a couple of moments here and there, but a great film. I think yes, definitely check it out if you've not seen it already, and of course, it's a stunning film. I think the drama of the film, the narrative is very investing. The romance is very nice as well. It could have been maybe more fleshed out. But it's something that mainly focuses more on the father-son relationship, of course, between these two characters. Will, of course, and his son. Of course, Steamboat Bill and Steamboat Bill Jr. And yes, it's very, very human, this film, and yes, at the same time, very, very entertaining. I really had a great time with this one, and once again, a great film that I loved overall, and yes, the final act, especially, being absolutely marvelous, really, and yes, very. What a present this was. Really, really great stuff here. Sherlock Jr. for me is an absolute masterpiece, and definitely the best, in my opinion, but the general as well. And this film here, great, great films, and yes, definitely going to be checking out, of course, all of Buster Keaton's films eventually, and the cameraman, and having mentioned that in this, it's a really interesting film. To me, I think I really want to check that out, very, very soon actually, and so many films here, I'm really looking forward to. And yes, tell me your thoughts on this film. What do you think? Tell me in the comments, of course. If you've seen this film, or if you haven't, and you've seen other Buster Keaton films, of course, and what your favourite Buster Keaton films, perhaps, and your favourite silent films. I love silent cinema so much, of course, and yes, it's another great film, of silent cinema. There's so many, countless films that I still need to check out, of course. You can't watch them all in one day, but yes, really looking forward to, my continuation, of this massive journey, especially in silent cinema, talking about that here, and yes. What are your thoughts on Buster Keaton? What do you think, and what do you think of this film in particular? Would be great to hear your thoughts, and just in general on cinema. As always, any discussions are welcome. So yes, as always, thanks for watching my review,